Okay, let's do command center. Got Darius. Available contract. Let's talk to Darius. Always good to see you at Ops. Griffith, what can I do for you? I want to know more about our debt situation. Yeah, sure, that's fair, and I'm glad you're taking an interest. I've got time to get in. I've got time to get into the nuts and bolts of it if you do. What do you want to know? Remind me why we took so many loads in the first place. How much time have you got? I mean, we've been hit with 1,000 expenses since we were forced to flee Cormadir. But I guess you're mostly interested in the big ticket items. Well, first and foremost, there's the Leopard. We still owe a lot of money on this ship, and losing her isn't an option. Then you've got all the assorted fallout from our impromptu trip across the frontier, jump ship passage, docking fees, miscellaneous travel expenses, all paid for on credit as if we had a choice. There's more that I could get into. The loan we took out to set up Markham's family, etc., but that'd be gilding the lily at this point. The fact is, we're in a lot of trouble with a lot of lenders, and hey, we're mercenaries. We live for trouble. Who are we in debt to exactly? I want names. How about I give you the top three? First, you've got Blue Horizon. That's the big commercial bank on Lyreton. System Regan Frontier, formerly Capellan Garrison World, after the Second Succession War, population is spread across tropical moons. Large gas giant, each moon is independent, civil conflict between the moons makes the system a tense and dangerous place. They're the ones that own the lease on this ship. And then there's Indiri Consortium. They've got people everywhere, but they're based somewhere in Merrick space. How's Merrick? Yeah, did we stand? Okay. Successor state. We borrowed from one of their associates to make the jump away from Cormadir on the day of the coup. Finally, you've got Lock-Owned Lending. They're a frontier outfit from Hastur, and they're about as crooked as they come. Now, I wouldn't normally do business with an outfit like the Double L, but we didn't have a choice. They made a deal with Blue Horizon to buy half our debt. So that's the big three: a commercial bank, a shadowy financial consortium, and a bunch of leg breakers in cheap suits. And each of them is dangerous in their own way. That's enough money talk. Let me ask you something else. Be my guest. What do you need to know? Got some questions about running this company. Sure thing, Mid. I'd be happy to help. What do you need to know? Contracts. Outfits like ours depend on Mercenary Review Board, the MRB, to post certified contracts working for reliable employers. I say reliable, but let's face it, Griffith, most jobs come down to us doing the work that the rich and powerful can't be seen doing. Mercenaries are deniable assets. True that. We travel from system to system, picking up jobs and making ends meet. Sure, space travel costs sea bills, but some employers are desperate enough to pay travel expenses for mercenaries willing to make a few jumps for a gig. Contract intel. What intel will I get about a contract before I accept it? Some employers will give us enough info to understand who we're fighting and why. Some are cagier than others, but by and large, they want us to succeed. Because of this, we generally get enough intel to get the job done. It isn't a perfect system, but it works well enough. There are a few key things to look for in a contract. First, you need to understand what type of mission it is. Next, you need to take into account the climate conditions for the area of the operation. Finally, it's important to know the expected strength of the opposing force, or opt for vital even. Tell me about the types of mission we may be offered. In my experience, most contracts come down to one or more of a few basic ideas: blowing something up, taking someone down, keeping something safe, or making a mess with heavy ordnance. There'll be variations here and there, sure, but for the most part, our jobs are going to fit into one of those categories. Giant bipedal weapon platforms aren't exactly known for their subtlety. Tell me about climate conditions. If you're not watching the climate conditions, you're not in full command of the battlefield. In most environments, you've got to watch your mech warriors' weapon fire and jump jet use so they don't overheat their battle mechs. Badlands and deserts make our mechs run hotter, so you're going to want to pay careful attention to where you're fighting, when you're fighting there. Low atmosphere non-terraform planets are worse. You'd be wise to swap some energy weapons for ballistic weapons in those environments, or pack some extra heat sinks. But the vacuum of a lunar environment is the worst. It's counterintuitive. I know, space is cold, right? But no atmosphere means basically no heat dispersion, and you're sitting on top of a fusion reactor. Use your jump jet sparingly, or you'll shut down in no time. All that being said, frozen environments are like heaven for mech warriors. The heat from weapon fire and jump jets dissipate at a much greater rate, and you'll have the maximum options on the battlefield. But so will the enemy. It's important to have an idea of what you're up against once your lance hits the ground. Unfortunately, mercenaries are often on the ass end of mission intel, and the most we'll usually get is rating of the enemy's overall strength. At best, a mission's difficulty rating will give us an idea of our post-mission repair bills and medbay time, or a signal that we should avoid the mission altogether until we can bring bigger guns. As a general rule, we should field the heaviest mechs we can on a given mission. Bigger isn't always better though. Speed and mobility are important on escort and other missions where flexibility is as valuable as firepower. I'll try to give you a heads up when we're offered missions like that. Okay, let's go back for a second. Can I withdraw from a contract? Absolutely. There's a great thing. That's the great thing about being a merc. It isn't our fight. We're here to make money, not die for a cause. You can back out of contract negotiations at any time with no harm done, but once we deploy onto a battlefield, it gets a little trickier. If things are going sideways during a mission, you can withdraw to save on repair bills and medbay time, but it will cost us. If we withdraw before achieving any objectives and destroying at least one enemy, the MRB will rule it as a bad faith withdrawal. Not only will we not get paid, we won't get any battlefield salvage either, plus our reputation will suffer both with our employer and with the MRB. Now, if we withdraw after achieving an objective and destroying at least one enemy, then the board will rule as a good faith withdrawal. Our pay will still be reduced, but our reputation won't take a hit, and that's important for business. One last thing on the subject, if one of your mechs is getting banged up bad and it looks like a mech warrior might not make it out alive, you can order them to eject during combat. Samir will fly suborbital and recover them, and will scoop up their mech after the mission. Okay. That's interesting. Okay, we'll have to see how you actually eject. If it's just automatic when they're really banged up. I mean, they're saying that you're given the option, but I've yet to see it. I haven't seen it on any of the streams I've watched so far. Our mercenary outfit's reputation determines the quality of the contracts we're offered, the quality of the mech warriors willing to hire on with us, and deals we get on weapons, mechs, and equipment in local stores. Most employers won't offer us the really juicy contracts until we've proven ourselves over time. But once our rep is solid, we'll get access to some high-paying gigs with opportunities for some serious battlefield salvage. Why is salvage important? I already know the answer to this because it's everything. If sea bills are like blood, salvage is like food for a mercenary company or something like that. I really don't do analogies. Just leave it at salvage is good. Here's why. Yep. Salvage lets you replace components you've lost or upgrade your battle mechs to better suit your combat tactics. And if you don't end up needing the salvage you get, you can always sell it off at the nearest store. Salvage rights are a time-honored tradition in the mercenary trade, and figuring out who gets what at the end of the engagement is a vital part of our business. In addition to C-bills, most contracts will offer salvage, reflected at a ratio of like 2/10. The first number represents how many priority salvage items we get to handpick after a battle. The second number is the total salvage we'll get, subject to the whims of our employer. You can negotiate salvage rights for every mission you accept, so keep that in mind. How do I negotiate a contract? Mercenary contract negotiating is pretty straightforward, but here in the periphery, it's all based on the golden triangle: C-bills, salvage, and reputation. C-bills are the coin of the realm, so to speak, so we use C-bills to pay for travel expenses, upkeep on our ship, salaries for our crew, and repairs or refits for our mechs. C-bills keep us flying. Salvage is part of our take too. The more salvage we take off the battlefield, the fewer C-bills are deposited into our account. Fewer C-bills we ask for, the more salvage we get. Now, you may want to take less money and less salvage in order to increase our reputation with the party offering the contract. Yeah, it'll cost us now, but the investment should really pay off later down the road. I'd like to ask you something else. Okay. Wow, Okay, that was just the first part. Oof. Okay, the next hour is going to be tutorial time. Finances. It's pretty simple, really. Every 30 days we have to pay the crew and cover regular operating expenses. Upkeep for the mechs we have already in our mech bays, upgrades to our equipment, things like that. So if we don't make enough C-bills to cover our operating costs at the end of the month, when our financial report comes due, we're out of business. Merc Life doesn't allow for a second chance. Remember that when you're ordering weapon refits and ship upgrades. Make sure you reserve enough to cover your monthly nut. I'm sure this is obvious, but I'm going to ask anyway, how do I raise the operating cost of our company? Obviously, the more mech warriors we hire, the more we got to pay out each month. Nevertheless, it's good to have a strong bench. You never know when someone's going to take one in the meat and be out of action for a while. Any upgrades we make to the ship will have upkeep costs too. Yeah, there are advantages, but they're advantages that require ongoing maintenance, and they cost C-bills. Okay, how can I lower? Well, for starters, consider putting the mechs you don't plan to field for a while into storage. That'll require time and C-bills to refit their equipment and ready them for combat. Stored mechs have no upkeep costs. By the way, remember that you can sell mech chassis and equipment if you're ever low on cash and you'll see something shiny in a store that you just gotta have. And yeah, I'd rather have a lot of salvage than not enough and sitting on a pile of C-bills, which is very helpful, but I would rather have the salvage, to be honest. Excuse something else. Oh, I just skipped that. Let me go through this again real quick. Yep. 30 days. Okay, I missed that. Whatever he said. Let's talk about mech warriors. I know. How much do I need to worry about their morale? Well, it's pretty important. Like members of the Royal Guard mid, they're in it for the paycheck, not for loyalty. If someone all in the house, their spirit is important. Because they get inspired more often in battle. Their heads are in the game, and inspired mechs can create opportunities. Mech warriors. I've seen inspired mech warriors make precision shots I thought were impossible, focusing their fire at one location on a speeding enemy as if it were standing still on a shooting range 25 yards away while wearing a sign that says "Shoot me" in neon green. Inspired mech warriors show amazing vigilance too. They seem to have an uncanny ability to blunt incoming damage and have heightened reflexes, so they act faster on the battlefield. Amazing stuff. On the other hand, I've seen mercs with low morale up and leave an outfit like ours without warning. Sometimes you'll see it coming, sometimes you won't. So yeah, you need to worry about the morale, man. You're the boss. What sort of control do I have over their training? Mech warriors gain experience in every mission they complete. You can chart their training and guide their development of 4 skills. Gunnery, piloting, guts, and tactics. As they become stronger in a particular skill, your mech warriors gain access to special abilities that they can use in combat. The first ability is the mech warrior specialization. Mech warriors can only have 2 specializations total, so pay attention when you're training them. The first 2 they acquire are the only ones they can have. The second ability is the mech warrior's expertise. The mech warrior gets only one of those, and it has to come from one of their specializations. Whichever expertise they learned first is the only one they have. Yes, okay. So we'll go back in there and I'll go through this again. So 3 abilities total per mech warrior. There's a lot of possible combinations, and you need to decide for yourself which abilities work best together according to your command style. Do more experienced mech warriors require higher salaries? Yeah, they do. Wouldn't you? As mech warriors grow in skill and ability, their salaries grow with them. Yep. Possible to have skilled mech warriors in the hiring halls of the systems we visit, but they'll have higher salary requirements than mech warriors you've trained yourself. Good to know. I didn't realize that watching other streams. So if I do want to add anyone, it's good to actually get a low level guy I can actually raise up. Okay. Any other general info you'd like to share? Things happen on a mercenary ship, Griff, all the time. You throw a bunch of mech jockeys into a confined space with technicians and crew for months on end, you're going to see some spillover from the battlefield. And operating a merc outfit isn't a glamorous lifestyle. There are hard choices to be made on a regular basis, anything from breaking up a fight over petty bullshit to dealing with faulty power couplings. Still, I wouldn't trade this for just about anything. We get to go where we want, we fight who we want, and we have only one god, and we have only one god we obey, the mighty Seabill. Well, you, I guess. Yeah, it's the merc life for me, mid. All the way to the end. Alright. Catch up. Let's see what we get here. Before any of this started, you worked with the Urano Royal Guard. Tell me about it. Alright. It was more than just a deployment, it was a full campaign. High Lord Tamati gave us the job back in 19. We were supposed to be assisting the Royal Guard to round up and eliminate a pirate clan on Yaldar. Commander Markham thought it would be easy money, turned out it'd be anything but. We lost a dozen mech warriors in 3 months of the Faldir campaign. Had to hose him out of the cockpits. Ugh. Would have been more if it wasn't for Sir Raju. He saved our people's asses on more than one occasion. Went out of his way to do it, and the thing is, he didn't have to. We weren't under his protection. We were the hired help. A lot of people in Mastiff's position would have used us as cannon fodder, but that wasn't his way. He treated us as if we were his own. He was a good man, Griffith. As good as they come. Damn straight he was. I grew up in Nassau Heights. It's one of the HAB stations orbiting Artru. 30 decks of economic stratification with corporate suits on the upper decks and everyone else crammed into the lower ones. My old man was a dockhand. We lived on deck 28, 2 levels up from the bottom, with the other station maintenance personnel. 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, my dad would load and unload cargo shuttles, vacuum-sealed Quillar, and nutrient-paste Quillar. What is that? Bioengineered crop that serves as staple foodstuff of the engineer. Okay. Looks like ordinary grain, grows twice as fast, grows to twice the size of Terran corn. Oh, okay. And nutrient paste for people like us, and luxury goods for the suits upstairs. The old man must have unloaded 1,000 crates of Casildian eel roe. Aquatic world fame for its population, vast variety of seafood delicacy. Okay. Plump, succulent eggs the size of melon balls. Never got to taste any, though. Any one of those tins would have cost him half a year's wages. Anyway, Griff, I don't want to saddle you up with my life story. Suffice to say, I got an eyeful of what I didn't want to be on Nassau Heights, and I did what I had to change my circumstances. By the age of 16, I struck out on my own. Left the station with a handful of skills, an enormous web of contacts, and a rucksack full of expensive caviar. And once I made it off Nassau Heights, I never looked back. Nice. Talk about something else. Gotta run.
I'll see you.
Alright. So, going back to the barracks. Looking at the mech warriors. So, I can choose basically to get this first tier of skills, 2 of them, and one of them in 2 different attributes. I can only get the second one in one of those 2, and then as soon as I lock down the first 2, all these other ones in the other 2 no longer are available, and that makes probably no sense whatsoever, but it does to me, and that's all that matters at this point, since I gotta sort through this stuff. So, in a nutshell, let's take me. If I decide I'm gonna go gunnery, I'm going to focus on my gunnery and my piloting as my top 2 skills attributes. So I get to these first ones, so I'll get multi-target and evasive movement. That immediately eliminates both these skills under guts and both these skills under tactics. Then as I work my way up, I can choose one of these, so I can either get breaching shot or ace pilot. Once I pick one of those, the other one no longer exists. I can still pick these intermediary skills if I'm not mistaken from what I've seen, because that's 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. I think these just turn into normal blocks, which will increase, like, I'm assuming 5% base melee hit is going to happen at every single one of these pips, just like 7.5% base weapon hit, where this one plus 1 health. Which, nope, we're not going to do that just yet. So, okay, that makes sense to me. So I have to plot out who I want to focus on what. So like Glitch, she's already chose Gunnery, so Breaching Shot is badass later in the game, so I'm probably going to stick with her going all the way up to Breaching Shot eventually. I just have to choose which other skill she's going to specialize in. So she'd get Sensor Lock, Bulwark, or Evasive Movement. Evasive's really nice, and so is Sensor Lock. Juggernaut, yeah. Guts is nice, but I don't think I'm ever going to focus that on anyone in particular. I'm just going to get the pips in it eventually. Or the skill points, or whatever you want to call them. Yeah, Ace Pilot, that's pretty cool. Master Tactician, max pilot by this mech gain +1 initiative, remove 1 bar of stability damage when reserving. I mean, that's neat and all, but I'm thinking most people, I'm going to say, yeah, your secondary is going to probably be Sensor Lock. Just so everyone was going to have that, because it becomes so helpful when you're just trying to tag mechs, and that way you can just, all right, Sensor Lock them, boom. We can just start bombarding them while they're not even within like visual range. So yeah, I'm seriously contemplating just sticking with like Sensor Lock on everyone as their secondary skill, and then focusing up like, yeah, Glitch, she's gonna end up with Breaching Shot. Behemoth,
what's up, boss?
She's got Bulwark. Yeah, massive successful melee attacks knock your target back when initiative phase. I don't know if I would do that. I might actually stick her with Master Tactician. Like, go Sensor Lock, Master Tactician. I mean, or multi-target. Okay, yeah, well, multi-target is awesome. So it could be that trade-off of multi-target or Sensor Lock is like a definite skill, one or the other on every single character. But I digress. I can sit here and look at this all evening and try to theory craft stuff, and it's not going to make a lick of difference. All right, so we've gone through Leopard, Command Center, Barracks, Mech Bay, Captain's Quarters, Navigation. We have not been there yet. Actually, wait a minute. Command Center. I have not looked at the contracts. Ordnance Depot Capture. 2 of 10. It's half a skull out of 5. Travel to another system included. That's always nice. Max pay 169k. Max salvage 2. Max reputation +8. The Magistracy of Canopius. Or Canopus. Tracking movement. Yep, we're going to pretty much take this one. I'm just not going to take it yet because I want to go look at navigation, talk to Samir.
How can I be of service, Commander?
Let's see. Does the decision we made about uncertified contracts satisfy your concerns? My concerns won't be satisfied until our creditors have been paid and the loan sharks are off our backs. But this is a step in the right direction, and that makes me happy. I'm not blind to the risks that uncertified contracts entail, by the way. I mean, I know what we're doing is dangerous, but it's the best chance we've got to dig ourselves out of this hole. Big risks, big rewards. So, navigation, sure, ask away. I mean, it's kind of important that you understand what you're doing. So if I can help with that, I'm all for it. Okay. And tutorial time. Yeah, I'm figuring I'm going to finish going through the rest of the tutorials, and then I'm going to probably take like a 10-minute break, because that's going to be like 2 hours right there of me just rambling on, reading stuff off the screen, but it has to be done. I'm learning some stuff that I didn't know, so hey, hopefully anyone watching this, you're going to find it useful too. Okay. All right. Short answer is that you pick a destination on the star map and I make it happen. Interstellar travel takes time, sometimes weeks, and it'll cost us sea bills for fuel and passage on a jump ship. But it's the only way to an outfit like ours survive out here. We go where the work is. What intel can I get about a system before choosing to go there? Enough to make a reasonably informed choice, I think. The star map makes political boundaries clear, so you'll know whose space we're entering. I've programmed the star map to lock out travel to systems designated as no-fly zones. We're looking for work, not an interstellar incident. Beyond political boundaries, the nav system will highlight political factions active in the system. That should give you a good idea of who's hiring. It's probably a good idea to check your reputation with the local factions before ordering a long voyage. That's be more intel than just the local politics. There is. As you select systems on the star map, you'll see a list of attributes the mercnet database associates with them. Attributes like black market or poor are clues of local store contents. The types of the mercs will be found in the hiring halls, contracts we may be offered, and potential mission environments. If you hover over an attribute, the star map will display a longer description for you. Good to know. Beyond the political factions and attributes of a system, perhaps the most important to watch is the difficulty rating of the merc contracts we'll find there. The MRB maintains a standardized rating system, so folks like us who are trolling mercnet for jobs can weigh the risks before accepting a contract. What else can you tell me about the mechanics of space travel? I want to know it all. Oof. Well, the long answer is there's two types of space travel. Travel by dropship like ours and travel by jump ships. Dropships travel under 1 g of thrust to move from a planet's orbit to a jump point. Jump points are far outside the gravity well of the star, so travel to and from a jump point takes most of our travel time, sometimes weeks. Jump ships, on the other hand, are like ferries. They just sit at a jump point waiting for folks like us to latch onto their docking collar. Then we wait there for about 5 days while they spin up their jump drive. Once the jump drive is spun up, popping a dozen light years across interstellar space to another jump point takes nearly no time at all. I've heard stories about pirate points that a jump ship can use. What are those? They're bad news, Commander. Difficult to locate and dangerous to use. I've heard of people using pirate points in desperate situations or on covert missions. But it's not worth the risk of a misjump. You won't find many pirate points on my star map, I can tell you that. Just avoid them. Do we always have to pay our way from system to system? Yeah. Not always. No, yeah, they'll pay the contracts. Contracts can pay it, like the one I'm going to take. If you check the contracts list in the command center, you often find employers posting travel contracts. Travel contracts are how employers attract mercenaries to their system by paying the outfit's travel expenses. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why not take the travel contract and skip out on their mission for a more lucrative contract when we arrive? You can do that, Mid, but we'll automatically get charged the cost of the jump. Yep. You know the old saying, there's no such thing as a free ride or no such thing as a free lunch, Tinstoffel. Well, unfortunately, it's still true. Something else. First tutorial done, 2 more to go. Yeah, that bothered me too before I joined the academy. Turns out that in real life, space travel isn't like what you see in holovids that Darius makes us watch, in the adventure holovids that Darius makes us watch. For starters, some stars are more massive than others. In the case of a really big star, you have to range pretty far afield to find a suitable location suitable for a KF jump. That's a Kearney-Fuchida drive, which is the faster than light jump drives. And for us, that means a whole lot of molasses slow sublight travel before we can even dock with a jump ship, let alone ride it to anything, anywhere. Jump ship charging takes time. Charging times are the other half of the travel time equation. A jump ship's KF drive will take a few days to recharge after each jump. So if your destination is a few jumps away, well, you get where I'm going with this. And that's the long or short of it. Anytime we go from one system to another, we're talking about weeks of sublight travel, coupled with a healthy dose of hurry up and wait. Exactly how much determines how long the trip is going to take. Yeah, and some of the streams I watch where people are farther along in the campaign, they're at like week 170, and it's like, whoa, okay. You're going to be spending a lot of time traveling or sitting in orbit waiting for repairs to get done. Okay, so yeah, this is the question I missed when I was doing it. The star map confuses me sometimes. It has to take longer to get from one place to another when the system appears to be the same distance apart. Yeah. Okay. Stores in the hiring hall. What can I do while we're orbiting in system? Beyond negotiating a contract, most inhabited systems maintain a hiring hall where you can recruit new mech warriors. Be sure to take a look. You never know what kind of talent you're going to find. Most systems also have merchants who can buy and sell hardware such as weapons, equipment, and mech parts, sometimes even fully operational battle mechs too. I won't be able to afford a fully operational battle mech, but hey. Our reputation with the local faction will influence costs when purchasing equipment and hiring mech warriors. The better our rep, didn't want to belch into the microphone. Sorry. The better our rep, the better the deal we'll get, and the better the mech warriors who will be willing to sign on with us. Okay, so looks like we're done there. Background time on you, I'll bet. I'm collecting stories about the crew. Tell me about yourself. Well, I'm from a noble family like you. We're old money. Made our fortune out in Rosselhog. Ah, space Viking territory. A minor interstellar trade estate conquered 700 years ago by the Draconis Combine, now officially known as the Rosselhog Military District. Then repatriated to the Taurian Concordat. Yes, they're the headstrong ones. That's where I grew up. But I'm not sure if this is the kind of stuff you were hoping to hear, but we can talk about whatever. I'm not shy. Okay. Where in the Concordat are you from? Concordate? That? Concordat? I've read a lot of the names of these places in the novels and the tabletop game books and stuff for years, decades, and I've never actually had to verbally say them. So it's like Rosselhog. Okay. Yep, I can get that one. Concordat? The magistracy of Canopus. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Hopefully I'm gonna get not butchering these and I'm saying them in the right way. I grew up on New Vandenberg. It's a nice enough place, I suppose. Do you like birds? Sure, I guess. Then you'd like New Vandenberg. It's basically one big aviary. Something like 2/3 of the native fauna has feathers, flutters in the wind, and splatters its excrement across every available surface. Naturally, the original colonists adopted the feathery little monsters into the culture, and those of us that came after were kind of stuck with it. Statues, fountains, murals, you name it. Just a giant feathery pile of screeching alien birds. If the system had a motto, it'd be Squawk. Cute. Maybe if I hadn't grown up with it. Where'd you learn to pilot a leopard anyway? The Taurian Naval Institute on New Vandenberg. Well, among other places, it's a big campus. The low-gravity training station orbiting Lompoc was my second home for a time. TNI, Taurian Naval Institute, flight training isn't usually open to civilians, but my parents had good credit back then, and they could name drop Protector Calderon, the ruler of the Taurian Concordat. Yep. That'll get you pretty far in the Concordat, for a while anyway. The other cadets in my class weren't especially happy sharing the air with a civvy, but they couldn't say much. I was nobility and they weren't. Everyone sort of kept me at arm's length, so I had plenty of time to concentrate on my studies. Ew, okay. Kinda sucks. Ostracized because, hey, background. I got my certification in both dropship and jump ship operations in 4 years. Oh, cool. I even tried working on a commercial jump crew for a while once upon a time. The people were fun, but it wasn't for me. The ratio of flying to violent jump sickness skewed hard in the wrong direction. Yeah, jump sickness. Eesh. What can you tell me about House Meyer? You're looking at it. My parents are both gone, blood cancer, and heart disease, respectively. Both treatable, but they were out of money at that point, so into the ground they went. That sucks. Ditto my brother David, who ran off to serve in the Third Succession War and never came back. Oh. No stranger to loss myself. Yeah, I'm sure you're not. Nobody is really. It's a rough galaxy. David was 13 years older than me and had a foot out the door before I turned 3. And my parents, well, they raised me by proxy in the traditional noble fashion. There was no real bond there, even when I was young. None of this is to say that my folks were bad people. They weren't. They were just doing what they knew. Their upbringings had been outsourced, just like mine was. Anyway, that's all I've got to say about my family. They're gone. I'm here. The end. So you got another question, or should we get back to our duties? Family came from Rosselhog. It was a long time ago, but yeah, my parents told me it. We were landowners on Pomme de Terre. It's an agricultural world, sort of the breadbasket of the Draconis Combine. And yes, I know the Pomme de Terre means potato. I know. I did not know that, but that's pretty funny. You lived on potato. My ancestors came from the planet Potato. It took some time for me to accept that, but hey, here we are. Anyway, moving on. House Meyer's holdings were meager, but the value of the land was astronomical. For minor nobility, we were really, really very wealthy. And then the Third Succession War broke out, and the political rhetoric got ugly. House Meyer didn't want a single part of what was happening, so my ancestors emptied their accounts and ran. As a rule, House Karita takes a really dim view of nobles who cut and run. Words like traitor and defector start getting thrown around. In the Combine, you really don't want to be on the receiving end of allegations like that. I wouldn't be standing here today if House Calderon hadn't granted my ancestors asylum in the Concordat. In all likelihood, House Meyer would have been wiped out before I was even born. Wow. Okay.
Commander?
And star map. Let's take a look. Travel contract. Bellerophon. Detroit. And away. Oh, cool. Alright, so here's the active factions. Free World League. Magistracy of Canopus. Planetary Government. Extensive volcanism? Oh, okay. Primitive civilization. Alright. At jump point. Okay. Ooh. Alright. Can I move around and look? Nope, can't. See what these are. Oh, all right. Compelling Confederation. All right. Go back. Go to contracts. Ordnance depot capture. A depot capture. We've been tracking the movement of several pirate convoys, and that's allowed us to pinpoint their destinations. A hidden, well-defended ordnance depot. This facility is a key supplier for local pirate forces, and taking it from them will significantly damage their efforts against us. We'd like you to drop in, take the depot, and hold out against any enemy reinforcements. This should be straightforward. Move up, recon the depot, and then occupy it. Once we secure the area, the Magistracy of Canopus will send in their people to loot the place. Okay. Let's negotiate. Amalia Cortez, Magistracy of Canopus. Commander, I hope that you are in good health. This contract may interest you. It fits your skills and the strengths of your company. With any luck, we'll both get what we want out of this job. Alright, so here's the sliders. I could get reputation. Oh, it doesn't look like... Oh, okay, so I can slide that down, take no... Get max rep, which I don't care about at this point. I just need money. I can get max money. Two, 6. Kind of like in the 2 and the 8. Let's go with 2 salvage, because I don't know what they're gonna have though. I mean, it is an ordnance depot, so there could be some good stuff in there. Let's risk it. We'll do the 2 and the 1 and 6 or 2 and 8. I'm curious what the reputation is. Let's look at... So... they're indifferent. If I get 4... kind of curious how that's going to jump up. So I'm curious if I stick with 1 and 6. Kind of want to see what the reputation is going to do, and this is like the perfect early one to kind of check that out. Kind of wondering, I'm leaning towards that. Let's see. Yeah, I'm going to do that. Because I've seen everyone else, they just go heavy for salvage, and I'm going to do that eventually, but I'm just kind of curious how this rep bonus stuff works, and if getting +4 is going to boost me up to past neutral with them, or indifferent, because I'm indifferent with them right now. If I go to the reputation, yeah, I'm indifferent with the 5, and it looks like, don't know where, if this is like 1, 2, and 3, these blocks. And if that's the case, then it should bump me up to the next level. So I'm just kind of, yeah, I'm kind of curious about that. Let's do that. See, so negotiate, and we're gonna do 1 out of 4. Yeah, because I don't know. I'm like, it's an early contract. I'm not expecting a ton of salvage. Of course, that could come back to haunt me. So all right, let's just do accept.
Roger that, Commander. Course plotted.
Timeline advancing.
I wrapped up that job you asked for, Commander.
Awesome. Timeline paused. Travel. Okay, so let's just keep going.
All hands, make ready for docking maneuvers.
Charging up, and boom. Shakedown. You're on the Leopard's Bridge when Samir, Yang, and Darius for the daily staff briefing. Darius, we've received 3 messages from the bank. Loan sharks. Samir cuts in. For the people who are financing us, Darius continues, they're considering rewriting the terms of our loans. So if it would be easier to seize the ship if we miss a payment. As usual, they're only doing this because they believe they can't fight it in court, that we can't fight it in court. Sweet talk the banks, ignore the message, educate the banks on their mistake. Let's just educate them. I'll deal with it, you say. Later, you record a response. In it, you sternly remind your lien holders that as financial institutions operating on Detroit 3, they must abide by local contract law. You even cite the relevant sections of legal code from memory. Then you point out, as you've kept records of all payments and correspondence concerning the loans, you will be able to demonstrate in court that their proposed revisions to the agreed upon terms would represent such a gross violation of the law that you would undoubtedly be rewarded a second dropship at the bank's expense. Once the camera is off, Samir says, "There's no way they pushed you on this. Too bad. I'd like to see loan sharks grovel. Your company has gained the following tags: loan status, fair." Travel to Bellerophon. Okay. I think we're good. Everything's been repaired.
We've entered orbit, Commander.
Entered orbit. We have arrived at Bellerophon, Commander, ready to proceed with our current contract. Not yet. Give me a second. I'm going to take this opportunity. I'm going to take a 10-minute break since I've been going for almost 2 hours at this point. So let's take a quick, I'm going to take a quick little breather. Let me set up some time here. Timer so that we know I should be back. And all right, so going to take a quick break. Give me about 5 to 10 minutes. I might be back sooner. And we will continue on with the next mission. Launch this contract and see what we get. All right. See you soon.